Adejobi is honest, exciting, and super helpful on this breaking and entering episode. Originally an English and biology major, she has landed at some of the nation's leading creative agencies, including Ogilvy, Google, Giant Spoon, and now Wieden Kennedy in New York. She's currently 6 months in as a copywriter at one of my favorite agencies. And you're probably curious about how a biology major goes on to work at one of the most sought-after agencies in the country. It'll be obvious as you listen to this episode. Funmi is super earnest and passionate. That's her secret. So, in this episode, we talk about her background, her break-in, and the kind of people that work at Wieden. To connect with Funmi and see her awesome Instagram handle, go to our account at EnteringAd to connect with her and see her curated list of recommended resources you need to start following ASAP. And now, this is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and I am your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Funmi Adejobi.
That's me. Well, Adejobi, yes.
Adejobi.
Yeah.
Damn it, I want to get it right in the first try. How are you doing today? What is up? Thank you for coming on the Breaking and Entering podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Sorry I was a little bit late. I was coming from a client meeting, but we're back in business now.
Nice. And as a copywriter, how much client interaction do you get? I mean, is there a lot of taming of the clients, would you say, from the copywriter creative standpoint, or is that more so account?
It's definitely less taming of the clients than it is like trying to have a conversation with them. I think that like managing stuff is much more accounts like purview, but compared to every other role I've ever had as a writer at different agencies, like this is definitely the most I've like talked to clients in meetings and stuff. I think that just has to do with like the structure of Wieden. So like my partner and I are like extremely autonomous. Like we have our CDs obviously guiding us, and we like go to them for feedback when we're stuck and all that. But like in client meetings and presentations, it's all us, and they sort of just back us up if asked questions, which was very scary at the beginning. But now I'm like, I can't imagine having ever done it any other way.
Yeah. And I'm excited to get into this because you are at Wieden Kennedy in New York, correct?
Yeah.
And you're a copywriter there, which is a great agency. Wieden Kennedy is a staple in the industry, top dog, I would say. New York, the New York office, they have like do they have Bud Light there? I'm pretty sure you guys have Bud Light.
Yeah, we have Bud Light, Duracell. I'm on vitamin water. There's McDonald's. That's a pretty enormous account. Yeah. Enormous. And I know Nissan. There was like, what?
I think you guys do Nissan too, because the Heisman House.
No, we have Ford. So we definitely don't have Nissan.
You sure?
I don't know.
I thought because I follow Rob Schwartz on Twitter. I thought he was retweeting. Maybe I'm going crazy, but
I have a hard time thinking that we'd have Nissan and Ford in the same office, because like the way we do McDonald's and KFC's, at KFC's in the Portland office and McDonald's in
I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, maybe you're not. I've only been here like a few months, so.
Okay. And I mean, there's a lot to unfold. I mean, being a copywriter, one of the best agencies in the world, is huge. And I think that's going to draw a lot of people into this episode. So if you're a first-time listener, welcome. We're going to help you out and help you find your own job. And the way that we do that is by interviewing people that are super successful, like Funmi.
Oh, wow. No one's ever called me super successful before. That's so nice.
Really? Well, There you go. It's true. So tell us about yourself. Like, who are you as a human being to the core? What do you value? What do you do on your free time? Tell us about who you are as a.
Okay. Well, my name is Funmi. Short for Oluwa Fumilayo, which means God's gift of joy in Yoruba. I'm Nigerian. I was born in New York, parents born over there. My sister was born here too. I in college I studied biology and English,
Yes.
and like getting into advertising was like not the plan. I was supposed to be a doctor. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to go to med school up until like the day I graduated undergrad. I thought I was gonna be a doctor. Then like a couple days after, I was like, you know what? I don't think that's for me. And retrospectively, that was definitely the right decision. I did not want to have people's lives in my hand, not in that way.
Right.
So that's good. But I love the other day I found a journal of mine from when I was really little. It's not even really a journal, it's just like some place that I was like writing things. So I've always been jealous of, those art directors or those artists who are like, yes, I've been painting since I was like out of the womb. And like I never had that experience. I was like, oh, I don't know how long I've been a writer. Just like only just sort of recently started calling myself a writer. But I found this like college ruled notebook where I wrote tiny stories and like little comics and like little poems. And I was like, oh my God, I do have one of those stories. I have been a writer forever.
Yeah, there you go.
So, like, how do I spend my time? A lot of it is writing. A lot of it is like binge watching really good shows. Like, I just finished Fleabag. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Ingenue. That and I May Destroy You by Michaela Cole. I watched earlier in quarantine. They're just like two of the most like beautiful works. And that the fact that I don't know that this is true about Fleabag, but it is about I May Destroy You. Michaela Cole just like wrote it all by herself. She just like this show with amazing dialogue, amazing world building. Like there was no writer's room. It was just her. And
It's gonna be inspiring.
Yeah, 100%. Like speaking of inspirations, like that's what I want to do one day. Like I want to one day write for the screen. But for the time being, at least, I'm super happy where I'm at. And like, I'm super happy getting to work on creative projects that feed me. Cause I don't think that's that common that you're able to like feel that same passion for your work as you do about your like side hustles and other interests. But I do, like, genuinely. And I think that's like a testament to how much Wieden values creativity. And it's like the creativity comes first. The creative comes first, always.
So you're probably satisfied, like you just said, like you're getting that satisfaction, like as it was a side project or passion project is paralleling at work right now. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a dream come true. Not kind of, it is entirely a dream come true. Like full disclosure, everybody here, I went to VCU Brand Center, studied writing, and before I went, I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could end up at a place like Wieden, but like I did not have any illusions that I would be here, because like there were so many other, like I remember like our first class where we were like presenting stuff to each other with just the writers. There were so many good writers in my class, and I was like, oh my God, I'm already at the bottom of my class. I'm not going to cut it here. Everyone was so good, but honestly, retrospectively, that probably just helped me like raise the bar for myself and just like work even harder. I'll show you. I have this like, I know podcasts are a visual medium, but like, I have this poster that says, put in the hours. Put in the hours. Like you can't control how much better other people are than you. You can't control how much talent other people have, but you can control how hard you work. And like, so I just worked really, really, really hard and was just like always trying to one up myself, like always trying to get better and stuff. But I guess that's not really about me. What else do I like to do? I love to read.
You have to if you like to write.
I love to write. I recently discovered that I might be a chess savant.
Oh, snap.
After watching Queen's Gambit,
yeah.
I was like, I used to play chess when I was little, but I haven't for such a long time. I picked it up again, like on the chess app. It's literally just called Chess in the App Store. And I've been beating the computer on level. I'm like playing an intermediate player with like a 1100 score, which is like intermediate, and with like no assistance from the computer. So maybe I am an
Yeah, there you go. How'd you go from biology to advertising?
It was an accident. So I have this friend, like my best friend at the time in college. and she missed an informational interview with Ogilvy by accident. So I was like, what's Ogilvy? And that was literally my very first introduction to what the world of advertising was. And that was when I was a junior. So I remember that really clearly because I was like, oh, it looks like they have a it looks like they have a internship program. Let me apply to that. So I applied. I didn't know anyone there. And I studied abroad in Cuba, which is relevant because like I didn't want to be dealing with trying to do interviews with a bunch of places and like communicating because I didn't really know what my internet situation was going to be like. So I didn't want to be dependent on that. So I was determined to just accept the first internship offer that I got. And luckily enough, it was that one, but which is cool, but like I didn't apply to any other advertising internships and I ended up getting other offers after that. So if something else had come in first, like I wouldn't be in advertising probably, but you know, the hand of fate, the hand of God, the hand of the universe, really guided me there. So, I was an account management intern.
Junior year of college. That's crazy. You're going into your junior year, or you're going into your senior year?
Going into my senior year.
Okay, so you're a rising senior. And this might be a good transition into like, you know, how you broke into advertising. This is huge. Like this was 2017, I believe, 2017 or 2018.
2016. 2016? Summer 2016 was when I was at Ogilvy for the first time. Okay. And then while I was there, I kind of knew like the whole time, like account management isn't for me. Strategy seems super cool. I actually tried to get a whole bunch of strategy jobs right after I graduated. But I knew that if I was going to be in advertising at all, it was going to be on the creative side of things. So I met the person who hires creative interns because I needed her to help me find an intern, work on a project with us. And I was like, hey, I want to be a copywriter. And she was like, no, you don't have the skills for that. Okay. I was like, oh, okay. But I did have, like the following year I was an English major, like I said. My English thesis was a creative thesis. So I had like a collection of short stories that was finished in the winter. So I sent that to her as like my portfolio as proof that I can do creative things. And she did not respond. And then
they do that sometimes.
Yeah, they do that sometimes. But maybe this is like advice for the advice section. But like I emailed her like 6 times over the course of a calendar year and she didn't respond to a single one. But I later found out that she was always reading them. She was always reading them and like always keeping up with me. But it would have been nice to know that in the moment. But she didn't. And then shortly after I graduated, she was like, I'm looking for creative interns. Would you be interested in like a copywriter?
She reached out to you at that point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so even though she wasn't answering your emails, that's interesting. Like, it's like, not like it's getting lost in the shuffle. It's just, I don't have time to respond right now. I know who this is. She's like, I recognize her. She's on my radar. And then when the time came, she's like, all right, let's go to Funmi.
Yeah. I mean, the woman is, her name is Emily Elishevitz. She's like one of my close friends and like definitely a mentor to me now. And she's still at Ogilvy. She's just really busy and like does not like to waste her time. Sure. And someone like me was very much a long shot. Like I didn't have a creative portfolio, not in the traditional sense. I had never studied advertising. I hadn't even studied anything adjacent to advertising. And my only experience amounted to 3 months in account management on a very sciencey brand, Siemens. So it was a gamble for sure to like to bring me on rather than someone who'd had literally any amount of experience at all. But what a good thing that came out of that is that after my year there, she very clearly saw that like it wasn't a gamble, that like what you need in this industry is just someone who like works hard and is smart and is willing to learn. And like I was all of those things. I mean, maybe not smart.
You are all those things.
But I like tried really, really hard. And I was always willing to learn, like always trying to get myself on more as like many projects as I could. Sometimes overextending myself, but like just trying to touch as many things as I could and work with as many creative directors as I could. And that I think is ultimately like at the beginning, I was kind of doing small things, but then towards the end, I was covering for like mid-level and senior writers when they were out like at Cannes or on vacation or something. So I learned a lot in that year.
Let me back it up. Let me just clarify. So you account management intern. I mean, this is crazy to me. So you just applied like on LinkedIn or like on their website They hired you as an intern, which is super duper like crazy competitive nowadays, and I'm sure it was then as well. To get a Ogilvy internship is like,
yeah, dude, it was nuts. Like in my interview for that, she was like, okay, so do you know if you want to do strategy or account or you know what? And I was like, honestly, I don't know the difference between those
that's
things.
crazy. Yeah.
Then she explained it to me. And I was like, maybe strategy, and I didn't end up getting a strategy one, but
That's
that's
tough stuff. And so they put you in account, and the biology background you're saying might have put you a leg up, you know, have with that more sciencey account, you being yourself as well. It's a shoe in, like, and that's what like helped you out get in Ogilvy.
I think what helped me is that I was extremely earnest in my interview. Like I was just entirely myself, which it's hard to do when you like know a lot about a place or about an industry. It's hard to, you know, have that same like level of maybe ignorance that's helpful. But because I had I didn't really understand what Ogilvy's reputation was. I didn't really
Interesting
know what like even what the role entailed. I just knew like I like the idea of working with brands. I like the idea of helping shape their stories and like helping them put cool things out into the world. And Ogilvy seems like just as good a place as any to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd say like what helped me was that I was able to be entirely myself because I didn't know.
Right. That's so interesting. And did you prepare for that interview? Were you super stressed out? Or I know this is more advice stuff, but I'm curious. Like,
yeah, again, I was in Cuba. I did like I wasn't really, and like at the time it was just internet parks rather than like internet at home. So every time I wanted to be on the internet, and it was the spring semester, so it was really hot. So I did not want to be sitting out in the park for hours, and it cost money.
Right.
Couple bucks an hour. So I didn't do a ton of research, but I did have one mentor who was a copywriter at the time. And I was like, hey, I have this interview with Ogilvy and I'm really nervous because I don't know anything about advertising. So I called her and she gave me like a crash course, like kind of explained all the divisions and like kind of explained like Ogilvy's sort of position in the world. And like I don't think I would have gotten it had I not had her kind of in my corner mentoring me. But all that being said, I didn't like that was kind of the extent of my preparation. I don't think it would have been had I been in America with like access to the internet. I would have been, you know, much more on like LinkedIn and like on their website and all of that. But I did my best.
And it worked out. Then, but then you went on to a career, a very full and successful career. Once again, that successful word, with other agencies. I mean, this is crazy awesome stuff. Like, so Ogilvy, to start off at Ogilvy is amazing, right? It's one of the best in the industry, and you know, you got better. I could say that. I'm okay. This is my podcast. So that you ended up at, you know, you did stints at Google Creative Lab in New York. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds, you said it's like a super secret thing.
It is a little bit of a secret. Like, what?
Is that kind of like a media arts lab where it's only like, you're obviously in-house for Google, but like you'd be like in-house for Apple, like that kind of work, like super
Not
innovative?
exactly, because I think at Media Arts Lab, they work exclusively on Apple stuff. At Google, it's like we work on like at the Creative Lab, obviously there are a lot of like Google specific projects. Like I got to work on, the search documentary that was released recently. It's just like on YouTube about how search works. I got to work on stuff for the Pixel 4 when that was like ahead of that release. But I also got to work on a bunch of like experiments. And I think that's like how they refer to them. Things that are like, if you look at like Freddie Meter is like an AI experiment that like you sing a clip of a Freddie Mercury song or of a Queen song into it, and it tells you, like, gives you a percentage of like how much like Freddie Mercury you sound. And like that was released like in time for around the anniversary of We Are the Champions hitting 1 billion. I think I might be getting like the song wrong, but like a Queen song hitting 1 billion views on YouTube.
So cool stuff like that.
So, just like super weird like
experiments.
That's like the perfect word for that.
And you got the science background too, so you know the scientific method?
I mean, honestly, the science background helps me every day because it's
Mhm.
not like less in like the material that I learned, but more in like the problem solving and more in
Yeah.
the finding like 10,000, thousand ways to skin a cat sort of thing. Uh it was, I think, probably one of the most
Nonstop.
influential, times in my career, probably in my early career, because like what from there I really carried with me that like my favorite piece of advice that I got from them was, if you want to do something, just do it. Like if you have an idea for something, just make it. And
Hmm.
then like, because like there are in general, too many meetings about figuring out a thing, and figuring out whether or not it'll work. Just like make it, and then you'll know whether or not it works. That doesn't always work for everything, but like it's a really good place to start. Like if you have an idea for a script, write it. If you have an idea for a short movie, shoot it. Like just do it, and you'll see
So
if
you're
it works.
saying like at your job, like they're saying like when you were there, they're like, if you have something that you can contribute, just go ahead. Like you have our permission to like keep going.
I think I would one day love to end up back at the creative lab, but again, I'm just like so happy at Wieden. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to suck all the marrow out of it, or
And you
however that expression goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also did stints at Airbnb as a creative fellow and Giant Spoon, which was, I think, a small agency of the year by Ad Age. I don't know what year it was, but a
I
highly
did
regarded.
Airbnb. I got the fellowship, but then COVID happened and Airbnb fired like
Okay.
25% of full-time staff and all of their contracts and freelancers. So
Oh,
that
snap.
worked out.
That would have been cool, though.
It would have been so cool. I was going to be working on the Olympics. My mom was an Olympian, so I love the
Oh,
Olympics,
what sport?
track and field
Let's go.
for Nigeria, and that would have been amazing.
Are you a runner too?
I used to
Is
be like in middle and high school, but volleyball was always my main thing.
Gotcha.
And I played college volleyball at my very small D3 school, but
Gotcha. And that's called, what school was that?
Williams
Williams?
College. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I know we're firing through here, but I think it's interesting, like, you were able to land at some of these awesome agencies and cool opportunities. Was it just kind of like and we'll get into the advice later, but tell us how you then went, like how you got into Wyden. Like, was there a cool story? Did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? What was that break in like? Because I know that's the root of this conversation. A lot of people, when they learn about Wyden, they're like, yep, that's the one. I want to do Wyden. They do the best work. They do Nike. They do all this amazing stuff. So tell us how you got into one of the best agencies in the world.
So I initially went with Airbnb, but then obviously Corona happened and I was like, okay, I need a job still. So that's when I reached out to a recruiter at Giant Spoon. And luckily I caught them right as they were about to like close up their interview process for that summer's internships. And I was kind of like the last one interviewed, and I really hit it off with with the creative director I ended up working with, Andrew Mellon. He's the best. And it turns out his first boss was my first boss. Like
Oh, snap.
like and he's a writer as well. Like his first boss was Ryan Blank at Ogilvy, and my first boss was Ryan Blank at Ogilvy. And like
That's
Ryan
awesome.
Blank is just
Small
the
world.
man. Yeah, super small world. And it was just a great time. Then from there, towards the end of that, Wyden made me like a full-time offer, and then I've been here since August.
And what do you think? Like, is it as great as everybody thinks? Being on the inside, is
All
they
the rumors are true. All the rumors are true. All of the hype is
good,
true, and
good.
well worth it. If you can imagine, like I haven't ever stepped foot in the office as a full-time employee, but like I still get a really, really strong sense of the culture, of the people. I feel like really supported. I feel like I get a lot of like at bats and creative opportunities. My
Mhm.
creative directors are really hands off, but very like really supportive and really good at like kind of shepherding us to the right ideas while still being champions for the ideas that we want and that we're
Nice.
interested in. Because I have worked with creative directors who are like, that's a bad idea. Try doing it like this, and sort of like tell you how to do it. But if we show that like we have love for an idea, they're like, okay, where it is right now is not feeling right for X, Y, and Z reasons. Maybe try pushing it like this. like in these ways, but like they're never prescriptive, they're never overbearing.
Mhm.
I don't know, I just feel like really, really supported.
Yeah, I like that. And obviously there's a method and it works and they do a great job. Is there's got to be a Super Bowl ad or two you guys are producing right now. Is that true?
Um, I don't know that I can talk about that. I personally am not
Lame.
but I I don't want to get fired. Literally in the contract and in my contract that I signed, it says like,
No
don't be
podcast.
surprised if you get fired for talking about some shit about Wieden on the internet when you knew you weren't supposed to.
Huh.
And I think that is a direct quote. So
Oh,
I'm gonna do my
gotcha.
best to not be stupid and talk about some confidential shit. But
Okay, then
I am
we'll
not
leave it
working
at
on
that.
any Super Bowl spots. But I think it's a good bet that they are, that we
They
are.
are. They are. And I'm pretty sure Ad Age has like a report on what they're doing. I just haven't read it yet. I'm just being a bad podcaster. But okay. So the question now is how do you go from being the biology major that you were to landing at the best agency probably in the world? And like, what advice do you have for the aspiring pandemic career searcher in advertising right now that's struggling? They feel stranded. Break it down. The mic is yours. What have you learned? Tell the people what they need to hear and what they want to hear, please.
Okay, so this is gonna sound cliche, but be yourself. That sounds like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. But like I am 150% confident that all the opportunities I've ever gotten are because I've been myself around someone who is able to give me a job, you know? And kind of treating networking less as like networking and less like clinically and like less transactional and
Yeah.
more as like you're making a new friend. That
Mhm.
sounds a little funky, but like truly that's how I behave in interviews. That's how I behave like when I was getting recruited by whoever, that's like my number one thing. Just like talk to people like they're people, you know?
Humans.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because they can kind of smell when you're being weird. And like I can like I've spoken to prospective students before too, and most of the times it's really like it's super fun, always helpful. But I can also like sense when it's a little bit transactional. Um, and like that's weird and like nobody likes that. But
Mhm.
everyone does like to feel like people are genuinely interested in them. So like being not faking genuine interest, but like actually being interested in the place and the thing and the work and the person, all of that is tremendously helpful. But I think specifically to these COVID times, reach out to people. Reach out to people, try and talk to as many people as you can. Don't be like offended or I'm searching for the right word. Don't be discouraged
Mhm.
if they don't respond to you right away or after a little while. You can always try again. More than likely, it's that like they're dealing with some life shit, you know, like
Yeah.
we're all working from home. So like which means you're working from your home, like you're at home still. So
Yeah.
home things are happening. And it just giving everybody that grace of understanding is super important. And it doesn't like just because someone doesn't respond doesn't mean they didn't like you or they hate you
Mhm.
or you know of course there are some assholes out there who maybe that's the case, but I found that usually that's not the case.
Yeah.
And like so I was when I was trying to get a job right after I graduated in May 2020, so like just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And the Airbnb thing wasn't working out, and then all my other offers were like, we don't know what's happening because it's a pandemic.
Mhm.
Um, so I was kind of floundering and I was very scared. But what I did was I didn't write a form email, but I wrote like an email kind of tailored to each kind of place I wanted to work. So like
Yeah.
some places are a little bit more experiential, some places are a little bit more traditional, etc. But I also made sure that I was only reaching out to places that I would actually be excited to work at and get an offer
Yeah.
from. Because like the worst thing would be like to write a email of fake excitement and then someone gets back to you and they're like, okay, like what if you work here? And you're like, actually,
Yeah.
I'm not that interested in this place.
Right.
Um, like that would be the worst. And that's like so disingenuous, you know? So I made sure to only reach out to people I was actually interested in for real.
Mhm.
So yeah, just like being really considerate and thoughtful with what your very first reach out, making sure that it's like full of good vibes, and making sure that it really does feel like you and is true to like what you're looking to do. That like I can't overstate how important that is.
What about a quick blurb of advice, and like maybe like from what you've noticed at Wieden, like what type of people work at Wieden? What does it take to eventually, or for someone to finally break into Wieden? What point in their self-awareness in their life do they need to be at in their creative track or their account track? Like, what do you notice from the masses at Wieden? Like, what's that level?
Wow. I don't know what to say about that, but I think from what I can tell, it's people who are people, like no one. If the most interesting thing about you is that you like advertising, then Widen's probably not the place for you.
I like
because it really does feel like the first most important thing is the people that we're around. The next most important thing, not by a lot, maybe like tied, is the creative. And then the next most important thing is the business, like the advertising part of it all. So like you have to have interest beyond advertising. You have to like, what are your side hustles? How do you spend your time? Are you interesting and interested in things? They look for people who they would like to hang out with. Because I think I might be kind of talking, like pulling this out of my ass, but it really does feel like they kind of have my personal philosophy about when it comes to work, which is like the best work I do, always the best work I've ever done, always comes when I'm working with people I love to work with and love to be around. Yes. So I do think they're trying to find people who they like to be around, which isn't to say like they're looking for one type of person, because I think increasingly Wieden is doing like such, I love working here. It's like doing such a great job of recruiting from non-traditional places, because like, for example, we had like this mission meeting at the end of the summer about like kind of, every industry had its own racial reckoning. And we had a big meeting about like what we were going to do in response. And their whole thing was like, we're Wieden. When we talk, people listen. And when we change the way we do things, people will follow suit. So like, we need to kind of lead by example. And they're like increasingly trying to recruit from non-traditional places, because like, if you can be fucking funny on TikTok, you can be funny at Wieden. If you can, literally, that is an example. Like, I love TikTok. Me too, maybe a little bit too much. Actually, I have to delete it from my phone. But like, my point is, like, if you want to be, if you're creative in any way, if you're interesting, if you have a perspective, if you have a voice that you're trying to share, then you're welcome here. Then there's a home for you here, and like you'll be nurtured here, and you can like grow here. And that's what I found is like, at least for me, at least from what I can tell.
And you've been there for a good, how long have you been there now?
6 months.
Oh yeah. So you got it down. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think we'll wrap it up with that. That was such great advice. Is it okay if our listeners reach out to you maybe on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever you prefer, just to connect with you, say hi?
Holy mother of God. How many listeners per month do you? Just kidding.
Not that many, but we're not that many, but we're very loyal, our followers.
Yeah, totally don't mind. Should I just say what my
like a million people will probably reach out to you? No. I'll write it down.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I'll assume it's going to be in the show notes.
It will be on our Instagram at Entering Ad. So go to that to find out her LinkedIn, and to find out her Instagram, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's all good.
I would hire you right there.
Reach out to me. I love talking to people, and I love this industry is so scary and hard, and like I wouldn't be here if I hadn't got responses from people I reached out to looking for support. So
it's so huge. It's so huge when people give back. So I'm glad you're doing it now, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Funmi.
Thanks for having me, Gino.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's guest. Make sure you go and connect with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that Breaking and Entering sent you. Now, thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio technician, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director, as well as the student team from the Midnight Oil Agency at the University of Illinois. Can't do it without you all. Thank you very much. We will see you all next week with another amazing guest.